Aloha! Thank you for joining us here at truthmadeeasy.com as we continue with our Apologetics Made Easy video training course. The topic of this video is the Cosmological Argument Part 2, the Big Bang, where we're going to discover some amazing things about the beginning of our universe, the galaxies, planets, and stars, which will help us to uncover clues about the universe's age and origin, which in turn will help us to later prove the existence of God. We're currently going through our 5-point hand illustration here on point 1, proving that God exists. As we saw in our last video, we will be focusing on 3 arguments to support our case for the existence of God. Our text, I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist, covers these arguments in detail. Here on the screen we have a simplified version of each. The cosmological argument: if the universe had a beginning, it had to have a beginner. The teleological argument that teaches us that both the universe and life show evidence of design. If they have been designed, they had to have a designer. And lastly, the moral law argument tells us that since we all have a moral law within our hearts, some call it conscience, that enables us to know right from wrong, someone must have put it there. There must be a moral law giver. We are presently looking at the first argument, the cosmological argument. In the slides ahead, we're going to be looking at 5 lines of evidence from the Big Bang fireball explosion that proves that the universe did indeed have a beginning. From this, we'll conclude that since the universe had a beginning, it had to have a beginner. The 5 lines of evidence for the beginning of the universe can be remembered by the acronym SURGE, S-U-R-G-E, which Norman Geisler and Frank Turek use in the book. The letter S in SURGE stands for the second law of thermodynamics, U for the universe is expanding, R for radiation afterglow, G for galaxy seeds, and E is for Einstein's theory of general relativity. For the purpose of this video, though, we're going to zip through SURGE pretty fast and cover just a few of the main points. To learn more, I recommend you take the time to read Chapter 3 of the book, In the Beginning There Was a Great Surge, which provides lots of good information on each of these 5 points. I can tell you now, ahead of time, that based on the things we're about to cover and other scientific discoveries, it's pretty much an accepted fact among many in the scientific community that the universe did indeed have a beginning at the time of the Big Bang event. Let's begin with our first letter S and the second law of thermodynamics, which tells us that the universe is running out of usable energy. Now, how does this help us to prove that the universe had a beginning? Well, to answer that, we turn to the flashlight. As we know, a flashlight runs on batteries. Leave it on for a night or two and the batteries go dead. The battery runs out of usable energy and grows dark. Like our flashlight here, with limited battery life, or in technical terms, a limited amount of usable energy, the universe, according to the first law of thermodynamics, also has a limited amount of usable energy, or using our analogy, it has limited battery life. And what's using up the usable energy? What's using up its batteries? Well, among other things, the sun and the billions of stars out in space, or what we can think of as many celestial flashlights in the sky. Now, the second law of thermodynamics tells us that the batteries used to keep the billions of stars shining and the universe operating are running out of usable energy. Now, here's the point. If the universe was infinitely old, eternal, and these flashlights have been on for an infinitely long time, what would have happened to all those stars, all those flashlights? Their batteries would have run out of energy by now, and they would no longer be shining. Simply put, an eternal universe, with its lights on for an infinitely long time, would already be dark. But has our universe gone dark? No. The lights are still on. Those celestial flashlights continue to shine, and so we come to the conclusion of what? The universe is not eternal. Since it's not eternal, there's only one other option. The universe had a beginning. Our next letter in SURGE is U, for the universe is expanding. And it's expanding from a single point represented by the orange dot there in the center. Albert Einstein's theory of general relativity predicted this expansion back in 1916, and it was confirmed a decade or so later when an astronomer named Edwin Hubble looked through a telescope and saw a red shift in the light. which indicated that the galaxies were moving away from us here on Earth. Now, why is this expanding of the universe so important? Because it points back to an event that scientists have named the Big Bang. Here's how Norman Geisler and Frank Turek described the Big Bang event in their book. If we could watch a video recording of the history of the universe in reverse, we would see all matter in the universe collapse back to a point, not the size of a basketball, not the size of a golf ball, not even the size of a pinhead, but mathematically and logically to a point that is actually nothing. In other words, no space, no time, no matter. In other words, once there was nothing, and then bang, there was something. The entire universe exploded into being. This, of course, is what is commonly called the Big Bang. Wouldn't it be great if we were able to watch a video replay of the Big Bang on YouTube or Vimeo? Well, unfortunately, no one was around back then to capture the event. In fact, nothing was around. No thing. There was no time, space, material universe. And then, bang, one Aloha Friday afternoon, at about 5 p.m., an explosion of epic proportions occurred. And from this explosion came the seeds for every galaxy, planet, and star in our universe. And with it came three very important things: time, matter, and space. Before the Big Bang, there were no watches, no calendars, no containers. There was nothing. After the Big Bang, our incredible time-space material universe. Next in the SURGE acronym is the letter R for radiation afterglow. By accident in 1965, two men, Arno Penzias and Robert Wilson, stumbled upon more Big Bang evidence that won them the Physics Nobel Prize in 1978. What they discovered was some unusual radiation on the antenna pictured here. It turned out that the radiation was radiation afterglow from the Big Bang fireball explosion. Now, we can't see this infrared radiation as it's invisible to the human eye. Just as there is remnant heat and light from a fireworks explosion, the Big Bang explosion left behind remnant heat and light, or what has been termed by scientists as cosmic background radiation. This was another proof that there really was an explosion in the distant past, which was later confirmed with our next line of evidence, the letter G, which stands for galaxy seeds. In addition to the expanding of the universe, Einstein's theory of relativity led scientists to believe that the leftover radiation from the original Big Bang fireball explosion that Penzias and Wilson discovered might have temperature variations, or what they called ripples. So in 1989, NASA launched a satellite they called COBE for Cosmic Background Explorer. Its 4-year mission provided some incredible discoveries. Here are pictures from COBE. The first is a 2-year map of the data collected, and this second is a 4-year map. Now, I'm not an astrophysicist, so when I looked at these pictures for the first time, I had no real idea what the pictures were telling me. But the scientists who study this stuff knew, and it got them pretty excited. World-famous physicist and cosmologist Stephen Hawking called COBE's findings the most important discovery of the century, if not of all time. And the project leader of the COBE mission, astronomer George Smoot, commented, "If you're religious, it's like looking at God." Well, in our next slide, Geisler and Turek provide some further insights into COBE's findings and why scientists got so excited. Again, remember the scientists were looking for temperature differences, temperature variations from the leftover radiation from the Big Bang fireball explosion. Geisler and Turek comment, COBE actually took infrared pictures of the ripples. Now keep in mind that space observations are actually observations of the past because of the long time it takes light from distant objects to reach us. So COBE's pictures are actually pictures of the past. That is, the infrared pictures taken by COBE point to the existence of matter from the very early universe that would ultimately form into galaxies and clusters of galaxies. Smoot called this matter seeds of the galaxies as they exist today. Lastly, we come to the letter E in search, Einstein's theory of general relativity. This theory, which is still used today and proven to be very accurate, would not work if the universe was eternal. The equation is based on the universe having a beginning at a specific point in the past, when all time, matter, and space came into existence. Okay, there you have it. Our 5 lines of evidence using the SURGE acronym, SURGE. The second law of thermodynamics, the universe is expanding, the radiation afterglow, galaxy seeds, and Einstein's theory of general relativity. You know, if you had to remember just one of the lines of evidence when discussing the universe's beginning with others, you might consider this one, the second law of thermodynamics. With the pictures here, you can easily remember that the universe is like a flashlight with batteries. It has a limited amount of usable energy, and it's running out of energy. Its batteries are running down. This will help you to conclude that the universe is not eternal. If it was eternal, it would be dark by now. The sun and stars, those billions of flashlights in the sky, or what we call celestial flashlights, well, they would have run out of energy. Their batteries would be dead. But the universe is not dark. The lights are still on, so we know that the universe had a beginning. And if it had a beginning, it had to have a beginner. And that's the cosmological argument in a nutshell. If the universe had a beginning, it had to have a beginner. Which leads us to the million-dollar question: who or what is this beginner? That's coming up next in our video, Someone, No One.